Lieutenant Jake Morrison walked into the classroom on Kepler Station and looked at the strangest group of students he had ever seen. The room was huge and filled with different kinds of chairs, tables, and breathing equipment. Each piece was made for a different alien species. Jake was a tall man with short brown hair and calm green eyes. He wore a simple military uniform with a few medals on his chest. At 32 years old, he had spent 10 years training Marines on different planets. This was his first time teaching aliens. The students stared at him with eyes, sensors, and other body parts he could not name. Jake counted 10 aliens from 9 different species. He had studied their files, but seeing them in person was different. Zixith sat in the front row. The Vorthan looked like a living crystal that changed colors when it moved. Instead of speaking with a mouth, it made musical sounds that a computer turned into words. The crystal creature was 3 feet tall and glowed with soft blue light. Next to Zixith sat Kalami, an Arathi female. She looked almost like a human woman, but her bones were hollow like a bird's. Her skin was pale white and she had large wings, folded behind her back. She moved very carefully, as if she might break if she moved too fast. Gorvin the Korvac took up 2 chairs. He was built like a living tank, with thick gray skin that looked like armor. His species was known for being strong and tough. Gorvin was 7 feet tall and weighed as much as 3 humans. Shira sat in a special water tank with mechanical legs attached. The Nereid had blue-green skin and gills on her neck. She breathed water, not air, so she needed her tank to stay alive. Her large black eyes watched Jake with curiosity. The other 6 aliens were just as different. There was a fuzzy creature with 6 arms, a tall, thin being with no eyes, and several others that looked like nothing Jake had seen before. Jake smiled and walked to the front of the class. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Jake Morrison, and I'll be your instructor for basic survival and endurance training." The translator devices around the room turned his words into different alien languages. Some students made clicking sounds, others flashed lights, and a few just stared. "I know this is new for all of us," Jake continued. "This is the first time humans and aliens have trained together like this. I'm here to teach you how to survive in difficult places." Zixith made a series of high-pitched notes. The translator said, "Instructor Morrison, what is your background in survival training?" Jake nodded. "Good question. I've been training Marines for 10 years. I've worked on desert planets, ice worlds, jungle moons, and underwater bases. Before the military, I grew up on Earth." Several aliens made worried sounds when he said Earth. They had all heard stories about the human home planet. Kalami raised one delicate hand. "Sir, our files say Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Is this true?" "Class 12? Jake looked confused. "I don't know about your classification system. Earth is just Earth. It's where I grew up." The aliens looked at each other with what Jake guessed was fear. In their classification system, Class 12 was the highest danger level. Most aliens considered Class 3 worlds to be extremely dangerous. Gorvin spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "Human. Morrison, Class 12 means your planet can kill most species in less than 1 day. How do humans survive there?" Jake laughed, which made several aliens jump back. "Survive? We don't just survive, we live there. My hometown has 2 million people. Kids play outside every day. We go swimming, hiking, camping. It's a nice place to live." The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, the fuzzy, 6-armed alien spoke. "You consider a Class 12 death world to be nice?" "Well, sure," Jake said. "Earth has great weather, lots of food, clean water, beautiful forests and oceans. Yeah, there are some dangerous animals and storms, but you just learn to deal with them." Shira's translator made bubbling sounds as she spoke from her tank. "Our research shows Earth has predators that hunt in groups, weather systems that destroy cities, and diseases that kill millions. How is this nice?" Jake thought about this. "I guess it depends on how you look at it. Yes, we have tigers, hurricanes, and viruses. But we also have medicine, buildings, and weapons. Humans learn to handle dangerous things. It makes us stronger." The tall, eyeless alien made a whistling sound. Instructor Morrison, what kind of training did you receive on your homeworld? Basic military training, Jake said. We learned to march, shoot, swim, climb, and survive in different environments. Pretty standard stuff. Could you give us examples? Zixith asked, its crystal body turning orange with what Jake guessed was anxiety. Jake walked to the wall screen and pulled up some pictures. Sure, this is Marines training in a swamp in Louisiana. The water is full of alligators and snakes. The air is so thick you can barely breathe. Trainees spend 2 weeks learning to move quietly and find food, Aliens stared at the image of humans crawling through dark, muddy water. This is mountain training in Colorado, Jake continued, showing another picture. Trainees climb rocks without ropes, sleep in the snow, and march 20 miles a day in thin air. More worried sounds came from the students. And this is desert training in Arizona. Soldiers learn to find water, deal with extreme heat, and navigate by the stars. Temperature gets up to 120 degrees during the day. The room was completely silent now. Jake looked at his students and realized they were not just worried, they were terrified. Is there a problem? He asked. Kalami spoke very quietly. Sir, those conditions would kill most of our species in hours. You call this basic training? Jake nodded. Yeah, it's where everyone starts. After basic training, Marines move on to advanced courses. Special Forces training is much harder. The aliens looked at each other again. Jake could tell they were communicating in ways he could not understand. Finally, Gorvin spoke for the group. Instructor, Morrison, we need to understand something. Do all humans train in such conditions? Most do, Jake said. Military training, sure, but lots of people do difficult things for fun too. My sister Amy climbs mountains on weekends. My brother Danny goes swimming in ice-cold lakes. My mom runs marathons in the desert. For fun? Zixith's crystal body turned bright red. Sure, it's exciting, makes you feel alive. The aliens were quiet for a long time. Jake realized he might have scared them, but he was not sure why. To him, everything he described was perfectly normal. The next day, Jake walked into the classroom with a big smile on his face. He carried a thick folder full of papers and photographs. The alien students looked nervous as they watched him set up his presentation. Good morning, class, Jake said, cheerfully. Today I'm going to tell you about your final exam. The aliens made various worried sounds. Zixith's crystal body turned a pale yellow color, which Jake was learning meant the Vorthan was anxious. Jake pressed a button and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a planet with dark red soil, purple skies, and strange, twisted trees. This is Titan 7, Jake announced. It's a recently discovered planet about 50 light-years from here. For your final exam, we're going to spend 1 week there doing survival training. The room went completely silent. Not one alien made a sound. Jake continued talking as if nothing was wrong. Titan 7 is perfect for basic survival training. It has some interesting weather, a few dangerous animals, and the air is a bit thin. Think of it as a light camping trip. Kalami raised a shaking hand. Sir, could you tell us more about this planet? Sure thing, Jake said, pulling up more images. The temperature changes a lot during the day. It gets down to about -40 degrees at night and up to 60 degrees during the day. Nothing too extreme. Gorvin made a deep rumbling sound that his translator turned into words. Instructor Morrison, those temperature changes would kill most of our species. Jake looked surprised. Really? Humans deal with worse than that all the time. Last winter I went ice fishing in Alaska where it was -50. My buddy Tony works construction in Nevada where it hits 70 degrees regularly. The six-armed fuzzy alien spoke up. What about the atmosphere on this planet? Well, the air is a bit thin, Jake admitted. Only about 60% of what you'd find on most worlds, but that's not bad. It's like being on a tall mountain on Earth. You just breathe a little harder. Shira made bubbling sounds in her tank. Our species would suffocate in minutes with so little oxygen. Oh, you'll have breathing equipment, Jake said casually. No problem there. He clicked to the next image, showing massive creatures with sharp teeth and claws. These are the local wildlife. Pretty impressive, right? They're about the size. of Earth elephants, but they hunt in packs. Very smart animals. The tall eyeless alien made a high whistling sound of distress. Those creatures could tear through our strongest armor. They're not that bad, Jake said. You just need to know how to handle them. Make noise, carry a big stick, maybe dig a pit trap. Basic stuff. The next image showed plants with thorns and bright colors. The local plant life is mostly poisonous, Jake explained, but only about 80% of it. You just need to learn which ones are safe to eat. Zixith's crystal body was now flashing red and orange rapidly. Instructor? Morrison, this planet sounds incredibly dangerous, Jake laughed. Dangerous? This is nothing compared to some places I've trained. Last year I spent 3 weeks in the Amazon rainforest on Earth. Now that was tricky. Poisonous snakes, giant spiders, diseases that could kill you in days. And it rained every single day. He clicked to another image showing massive storm clouds with lightning. Titan 7 does have some electrical storms. They happen about twice a day and last for a few hours. The lightning is pretty strong, but if you stay low and avoid metal objects, you'll be fine. The aliens were now making distress sounds in languages Jake did not recognize. He could tell they were talking to each other, but the translators were not picking up their private conversations. Finally, Kalami spoke for the group. Sir, we need to be honest with you. What you're describing sounds like certain death to most of our species. Jake stopped smiling and looked concerned. Really? But this is just basic survival training. I picked Titan 7 because it's one of the safer planets I found. Safer? Gorvin asked in disbelief. Well, yeah. There are no active volcanoes, no acid rain, no radioactive areas, and gravity is only 30% higher than Earth normal. I thought that would be easy for everyone. The room erupted in panic. Aliens were flashing lights, making loud noises, and moving around frantically. Jake watched in confusion as his students seemed to lose their minds. Hold on, Jake said, raising his hands. What's the problem here? Zixith managed to speak through the noise. Instructor Morrison, in our military training, a 48-hour exercise on a Class 6 world is considered extreme survival training. What you're describing is a Class 11 death trap. Jake pulled up his tablet and started reading. Let me check something here. According to the Galactic Military Database, the most dangerous training exercise ever attempted by alien forces was 72 hours on a Class 7 planet. 3 students died, and 12 were hospitalized. The aliens nodded sadly. Jake kept reading. It says here that most alien species consider Class 4 worlds to be the limit for military training. Anything above Class 6 is considered unsurvivable without full environmental suits. That's correct, Shira said from her tank. Jake scratched his head. But Titan 7 is only rated as Class 9, that's not too bad. Class 9 is considered a nightmare world, the fuzzy alien explained. Most of our species would die just from landing on the surface. Jake was quiet for a moment as he thought about this. Then he started typing on his tablet. Okay, let me look up some information about your home planets, he said. After a few minutes of reading, Jake's eyes went wide. Oh wow. Okay, I see. The problem now. He looked up at his students with new understanding. Your home planets are all Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Perfect temperatures, clean air, no dangerous animals, gentle weather. The aliens nodded. And you consider my training planet to be incredibly dangerous. More nodding. Jake sat down heavily in his chair. But to me, Titan 7 looks like a nice place for a relaxing camping trip. The aliens stared at him in amazement and terror. They were beginning to understand that humans lived in conditions that would kill them quickly, and considered those conditions to be normal and even enjoyable. Jake looked at the image of Titan 7 again, then at his terrified students. For the first time, he began to understand just how different humans were from the rest of the galaxy. That evening, the alien students held an emergency meeting in Zixith's room. The crystal being's body was glowing bright red with worry as the other 9 aliens gathered around. We have to do something, Kalami said, her wings folded tightly against her back. That human is going to kill us all. Gorvin nodded his massive head. Either he is completely insane, or he is trying to commit murder through what he calls training. Shira floated in her portable tank, making worried, bubbling sounds. I've been researching Earth all day. The things I found are terrifying. Our six-armed fuzzy alien, whose name was Flixer, waved all his arms frantically. I found videos of human children playing in water with giant reptiles called alligators, for fun. They think it's entertaining. That's nothing, said the tall, eyeless alien named Vren. I discovered that humans deliberately climb the highest mountains on their planet, where the air is too thin to breathe and the cold can freeze, flesh solid. They call it a sport. Zixith made a series of high-pitched musical notes that the translator turned into panicked words. We must report this to the Academy Board immediately. The human instructor is clearly defective. The next morning, all 10 alien students marched into the office of Academy Director Veltar. The old Zephyrian was a wise and experienced leader who had run the Academy for 50 years. His gray feathers ruffled with concern as the students crowded into his office. Director Veltar, Kalami began, we need to file a formal complaint against Instructor Morrison. The director's large yellow eyes blinked slowly. What seems to be the problem? Gorvin stepped forward, his heavy footsteps making the floor shake. Sir, the human is trying to get us killed. He wants us to spend a week on a Class 9 death world with no protection. He calls it basic training, Zixth added, the crystal body, now pulsing orange with fear. But what he describes would kill most of us in hours. Director Veltar pulled up Jake's file on his computer. Lieutenant Morrison comes highly recommended. His service record shows extensive experience in survival training. That's the problem, Shira said from her wheeled tank. His experience is all on worlds that should be impossible to survive on. Flixer handed the director a data pad. We've prepared a report on Earth and human military training. The evidence shows that humans are either the most dangerous species in the galaxy, or they're all mentally damaged. Director Veltar began reading the report. His feathers stood up straight as he saw the information. This says Earth has weather systems called hurricanes that can destroy entire cities. Yes, sir, Vren confirmed. And humans build their cities, right in the path of these storms. Then they act surprised when the storms hit. The director kept reading. Predators called sharks that can bite a being in half and humans swim in the same water for recreation? We found videos of human children swimming with sharks, Kalami said. They think it's fun. Diseases that have killed millions of humans throughout their history, and they still live in crowded cities? They seem to enjoy the risk, Gorvin rumbled. Director Veltar set down the data pad and rubbed his temples with his wingtips. I need to speak with Instructor Morrison immediately. An hour later, Jake walked into the director's office. He looked confused but not worried. You wanted to see me, sir? Lieutenant Morrison, please sit down. I've been reviewing your training proposal with the students. Jake sat in the offered chair. Is there a problem with the exercise, sir? I tried to pick an easy planet for their first time. Easy? Director Veltar's voice rose an octave. You consider a Class 9 world to be easy? Well, compared to most places I've trained, yes, sir. Titan 7 doesn't have any active volcanoes, toxic atmosphere, or extremely dangerous predators. The gravity is only a little higher than Earth normal. The director pulled up Jake's service record. According to this, you've trained Marines on 17 different worlds, including 3 that are classified as uninhabitable. Jake nodded. Yes, sir. Desert training on Kepler 4, Arctic survival on Frost 9, and jungle warfare on Verdi 3. All standard training locations for human Marines. Standard? The director's feathers were now standing completely upright. Lieutenant, Kepler 4 is classified as Class 13. Our scientists say nothing can live there. Jake looked surprised. Nothing can live there, but we have a permanent training base there. About 500 Marines stationed year-round. Director Veltar was quiet for a long moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk. Please send in Lieutenant Rodriguez. A few minutes later, Amy Rodriguez walked into the office. She was a small woman with black hair and friendly brown eyes. She smiled and saluted the director. You wanted to see me, sir? Lieutenant Rodriguez, could you tell me about your background? Amy. looked confused but answered. I grew up in Alaska, sir. Small town called Fairbanks. After high school, I joined the Marines and specialized in cold weather operations. What was it like growing up in Alaska? Amy's face lit up. Oh, it was great. Beautiful place. I used to go ice fishing with my dad when it was 30 below zero. My favorite thing was sledding down the mountains on weekends. Director Veltar looked at his computer. Our records show that temperatures of -30 would kill most alien species in minutes. Really? Amy looked genuinely surprised. It's just a little chilly. You wear a good coat and keep moving. No big deal. What do you do for recreation now? The director asked. Well, I love mountain climbing. Last month I climbed Mount McKinley on Earth. It was amazing. The view from the top was incredible, even though the wind was trying to blow me off the mountain. Jake nodded. Amy's brother Danny is into extreme sports too. He likes to jump off cliffs into the ocean. And her sister Katie does deep sea diving. They do these things for enjoyment? Director Veltar asked weakly. Of course, Amy said. Life's too short to play it safe all the time. The director looked at both humans for a long moment. Then he pulled up Earth's classification in the Galactic database. According to our records, Earth is the most dangerous inhabited planet we've ever discovered. How do billions of humans live there? Jake and Amy looked at each other and shrugged. It's home, Jake said simply. You learn to deal with whatever your environment throws at you. Amy nodded. Besides, all the dangerous stuff makes life interesting. Who wants to live somewhere boring and safe? Director Veltar realized that he was not dealing with two insane humans or defective soldiers. He was looking at representatives of a species that had evolved to thrive in conditions that would kill almost any other known life form. And they considered those deadly conditions to be normal, even enjoyable. The old Zephyrian sat back in his chair and wondered what he had gotten the Academy into by agreeing to this exchange program. After 3 days of meetings and arguments, Director Veltar called everyone back to his office. The alien students sat nervously while Jake and Amy waited quietly. I've made a decision, the director announced. The training exercise will go forward but with changes. The alien students made worried sounds. Zixith's crystal body turned pale blue with fear. First, the exercise will be shortened to 72 hours instead of 1 week. Second, each student will carry an emergency beacon that can call for immediate rescue. Third, Lieutenant Morrison will accompany you on the planet to provide direct supervision. Jake looked disappointed. Sir, reducing the time makes it less effective as training. Lieutenant, we're dealing with species that have never faced such extreme conditions. We need to start smaller. Gorvin raised his massive hand. Director, even 72 hours on that planet could kill us. Director Veltar looked at the Korvac warrior. Gorvin, your people are considered the toughest fighters in the galaxy. Are you saying you cannot handle what humans call basic training? The big alien's pride was hurt. We will try, sir. Good. You leave tomorrow morning. The next day, Jake stood on the landing platform of Titan 7 as the transport ship landed. The planet's red soil swirled in the wind, and the purple sky crackled with distant lightning. To Jake, it looked like a beautiful place for camping. The alien students came down the ship's ramp very slowly. Each one wore special equipment to help them survive. Breathing masks, temperature suits, and protection gear covered their bodies. Jake wore only his regular military uniform with a light jacket. Welcome to Titan 7, everyone. Isn't it gorgeous? The aliens looked around at the twisted trees, the strange colored sky, and the rocky landscape. They did not think it was gorgeous. First lesson, Jake announced cheerfully. We need to find shelter before the evening storm hits. Kalami raised her hand weakly. Sir, can't we just stay near the landing pad? Nope. Real survival training means moving away from safe zones. We're going to hike about 5 miles to that ridge over there. The aliens looked at the distant ridge through the swirling dust and purple mist. It looked very far away. As they walked, Jake pointed out different features of the landscape. See those dark clouds building up? That's a Class 3 electrical storm. Should hit us in about 2 hours. Shira made bubbling sounds of panic in her mobility suit. Should we take cover? Not yet. We'll use the storm to our advantage. The rain will give us fresh water, and the lightning will help us navigate tonight. The aliens could not understand how lightning could help with navigation, but they kept walking. After an hour of hiking, they heard a low growling sound coming from a group of rocks ahead. Jake held up his hand to stop the group. Interesting. Looks like we have some local wildlife. 3 massive creatures emerged from behind the rocks. They were bigger than the pictures had shown, with razor-sharp claws and teeth like daggers. Their yellow eyes focused on the group. The alien students panicked. Some tried to run, others froze in terror. Flixer started climbing the nearest tree. With all 6 arms, Jake calmly picked up a long stick and a few rocks. Everyone stay calm. These are pack hunters, so they're testing us to see if we're easy prey. One of the creatures took a step forward and snarled. Jake stood up straight, made himself look bigger, and shouted loudly at the beast. Go on! Get out of here! He threw a rock that hit the creature on the nose. The animal yelped and stepped back. Gorvin, you're big and loud. Help me make noise. The rest of you, pick up rocks and sticks. Look dangerous. Gorvin was scared, but his warrior training kicked in. He stood next to Jake and roared as loudly as he could. His deep voice echoed across the landscape. The other students followed Jake's lead. They shouted, threw rocks, and waved sticks in the air. Even Zixith made loud musical notes that hurt the creature's ears. After a few minutes, the 3 beasts decided the group was too much trouble. They turned and walked away, disappearing behind the rocks. Jake smiled. Good job, everyone. You just learned that most predators are bullies. They want easy meals, not fights. The alien students looked amazed. They had faced deadly creatures and survived. As they continued hiking, the storm clouds grew darker. Soon, rain began to fall, and lightning flashed across the sky. Perfect timing, Jake said. He pulled out a small container and started collecting rainwater. Always take advantage of what nature gives you. When the lightning started, Jake showed them how to count the seconds between the flash and the thunder to tell how far away it was. See that tall rock formation to the north? The lightning keeps hitting it. That means we're walking south. Vren, the eyeless alien, was amazed. You use the storm as a compass? Sure. Everything in nature can be a tool if you know how to read it. They reached the ridge just as the storm became dangerous. Jake found a small cave and led everyone inside. Now we make camp, he announced. He showed them how to build a fire, using dry wood from the back of the cave and sparks from his metal tools. As the fire warmed the cave, Jake demonstrated how to purify the rainwater by boiling it. He found some local plants that looked safe and explained how to test unknown food sources. Always test a tiny bit first, he said, touching a purple leaf to his tongue. Wait 15 minutes. If nothing bad happens, try a little more. The alien. Students watched in fascination as Jake turned the dangerous cave into a comfortable shelter. He used rocks to reflect heat from the fire, arranged their packs to block wind from the cave entrance, and even found soft moss for bedding. During the night, they heard the howling of distant creatures and the crash of thunder outside, but inside the cave they felt safe and warm. Shira spoke quietly to the group. I'm beginning to understand something. We've been thinking about this planet as our enemy, but Instructor Morrison treats it like a friend that can help us. Kalami nodded. He doesn't fight the environment, he works with it. As they settled down to sleep, the alien students realized they had learned more in one day than in months of classroom training. They were starting to see the world the way humans did, not as a place trying to kill them, but as a place full of tools and opportunities. On the 3rd and final day of the exercise, Jake woke up to find his alien students already awake and working. They had kept the fire going all night, collected fresh rainwater, and even caught some small local creatures for breakfast. Good morning, Instructor, Zixith said, the crystal being glowing a confident green color. We prepared food and water for everyone. Jake smiled with pride. Outstanding work. You're all learning fast. During the past 2 days, the students had changed completely. They no longer jumped at every sound or panicked when the weather turned bad. They had learned to read the signs that Jake taught them. Gorvin had discovered that his thick armor was not just protection. He could use it to break through ice to reach clean water underneath. He could also use his weight to move large rocks and build better shelters. Kalami learned that her hollow bones, which she thought made her weak, were actually perfect for the thin air on Titan 7. She could fly in conditions that would exhaust other species. She became the group's scout, flying ahead to look for dangers and safe paths. Flixer used his 6 arms to set up complex trap systems that caught food and warned of approaching predators. His fuzzy fur also helped him feel changes in air pressure. That meant storms were coming. Even Shira, who everyone thought would struggle the most, found ways to help. Her water tank had filters that could clean any liquid they found. She also discovered that her gills could detect dangerous gases that the others could not smell. Vren, the eyeless alien, became their best navigator. Without sight, he had learned to use sound, smell, and touch to find their way. He could hear water sources from miles away and feel vibrations in the ground that warned of rock slides. As they packed up their camp on the final morning, Jake asked them about their experience. "How do you feel about Titan 7 now?" he said. Zixith answered for the group. "At first, we saw this planet as a terrible enemy trying to kill us. Now we see it as a difficult teacher that made us stronger." "What did you learn?" Jake asked. Shira spoke from her tank. "We learned that every problem can become a solution if you think about it differently. The storm that scared us gave us water and direction. The predators that threatened us taught us to work together. The cold that hurt us showed us how to build better fires." Jake nodded. "That's exactly right. Every environment has rules. Once you learn the rules, you can use them to help yourself instead of fighting against them." Kalami flapped her wings thoughtfully. "Instructor Morrison, humans don't see dangerous places as obstacles, do they? You see them as puzzles to solve?" "In a way, yes," Jake agreed. "Humans have always lived in dangerous places. We learned that running away from danger doesn't make you safe. Learning to handle danger makes you safe." When the transport ship arrived, to pick them up, the alien students did not rush to get aboard. They took one last look at Titan 7 with new eyes. "I almost don't want to leave," Flixer admitted. "This place taught me things about myself that I never knew." Back at the academy, Director Veltar waited nervously for their return. He expected to see traumatized students who barely survived their ordeal. Instead, he saw confident aliens who walked with new purpose. "How did the exercise go?" the director asked. Gorvin stepped forward. "Sir, it was the most valuable training we have ever received. We request permission to extend our time in Instructor Morrison's program." Director Veltar blinked in surprise. "You want to continue this training?" "Yes, sir," all 10 students said together. Over the next few days, word spread throughout the academy about what had happened on Titan 7. Other alien military officers heard that students had not only survived on a Class 9 world, but had thrived there. Soon, Director Veltar was receiving requests from dozens of alien militaries. They all wanted to send their best soldiers to learn from the human instructors. "This is unprecedented," the director told Jake during a private meeting. "In 50 years of running this academy, I have never seen such demand for a single program." Jake shrugged. "Humans have been teaching survival skills for thousands of years. We're happy to share what we know. Lieutenant Morrison, I have an offer for you. The Academy Board wants to create a new department. We're calling it the Deathworld Combat Training Center. We want you to run it." Jake's eyes lit up. "That sounds interesting. What would I be teaching?" "Everything. Desert survival, Arctic operations, jungle warfare, underwater combat, volcano training, toxic environment operations. We want to create the most advanced survival training program in the galaxy." "And the students?" "The best soldiers from every 4 member species. They're calling it the Galactic Elite Survival Corps." Jake thought about this for a moment. "I'll need more human instructors. This kind of training requires people who grew up on Earth." "Already arranged. The human military is sending 20 more instructors next month." 3 months later, Jake stood in front of his largest class ever. 50 alien soldiers from 30 different species sat in the expanded classroom. Some were generals, Others were special forces commanders, and a few were war heroes from their homeworlds. Welcome to Human Survival Training 101, Jake began. Today we're going to start with something simple: basic volcano survival techniques. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Jake pulled up a hologram of an active volcano with lava flows and toxic gas clouds. "This is Mount Peterson on Earth," Jake continued cheerfully. "It's where human firefighters train to work near lava. My brother Danny actually climbs this mountain for fun on weekends." In the back row, an alien general quietly updated his will on his personal tablet. Jake smiled as he looked at his eager and terrified students. "Now who wants to learn how to surf on lava flows?" The room erupted in panic, but this time it was mixed with excitement. The aliens had learned that human training was dangerous, but it was also the most effective military education in the galaxy. Within a year, graduates of Jake's program were transforming their home militaries. Worlds that had been considered uninhabitable were being turned into training grounds. Soldiers who had once feared Class 4 worlds were now operating successfully on Class 8 planets. The galaxy was learning that sometimes the best way to survive was to learn from the species that had evolved in the most dangerous place of all. Jake Morrison, the human who just wanted to teach basic survival skills, had accidentally created the most elite military force the galaxy had ever seen, and he still thought of it all as just simple camping trips.